aren't caught up, Greg and I have been having soup every night that we are at our house, and we have gotten really good at making a few staple soups, but we're always trying new ones as well. And it's truly the most perfect meal, especially if you're having people over. And we're having our sisters over for a little soup dinner party. It's such an easy thing to make. It's literally just all made in one pot. We're gonna make a meatball gnocchi soup, and then we're gonna have warm chocolate chip cookies and ice cream for dessert. But I thought that I would show you the recipe for this soup because it's just a good one, and I feel like for all my soup recipes, there's a few that are on the blog, but then we've come up with so many more this year, but I always just kind of like eyeball them. I don't write them down or film them, so I'm trying to start filming my soup recipes. The cookie dough recipe, I will say right now, is just my like Live Be Famous chewy chocolate chip cookies. It's on my website, it's on my YouTube, it's on my Instagram, it's on my blog. Oh, I already said website, and it's in my cookbook, my first cookbook, because it's just the recipe that literally everyone needs in their life. I have never had someone tell me that they made these cookies and didn't like them. And most of the time, people make them for like friends and family who aren't vegan, and they are astounded that they're vegan cookies. Oh, I guess I should show you. Okay, so Cobb's is one of our favorite bread places, and we love their sourdough. So we just get the regular sourdough loaf. And then we've also just recently started getting this like, are you good? Keeps sticking his whole hand in his mouth. You gotta toast them, put lots of butter on them, and then when you have your soup, you have to let it sit in the soup. And most bread gets like instantly soggy and disintegrates and gets all gross, but sourdough honestly just soaks up the soup and the broth, and it gets soft, but it doesn't get soggy, and so it's just so good. This is the table setup. So these are the chairs. We got table from Facebook Marketplace. My mom helped us like sand it, and then we restained it because it had, you can kind of still see them, like it had some scratches in it, but they were like way worse and like really like white. And then these are the chairs. We got them from Wayfair. They're super comfy, and I love that they like really go well with the other wood we have. It'll be so cozy at night. Cheers! This soup is so simple. Just start off with some carrot, onion, and garlic, and then I add in my favorite frozen meatballs, followed by some diced tomatoes. I blended half of them and then did the other half whole just for some texture. And then you want to add in some vegetable broth, some coconut milk. This is light coconut milk. You can use full fat if you like. I just prefer the light one. And then some garlic powder, smoked paprika, dried basil, and then these are mini gnocchi. You could do orzo or pasta if you don't have gnocchi, but I highly recommend getting gnocchi, especially the mini ones. It's so good. And then I just chopped up some kale and parsley and basil, and then you want to let that simmer until it's a little bit thicker. And that's really it. It's so easy, and it is truly delicious. Add some vegan parm on top, and it is chef's kiss. So good. Back when I was trying to get pregnant, I worked with a Chinese medicine fertility lady. She has an online business where she helps people try and conceive, and I found her on TikTok. One of the foods that she had me eating was something called congee, and I'd never heard of it before. The recipe that she gives her patients or clients is different than traditional congee, but basically it was like rice and I think it was just rice and water, and then apricots in the Instant Pot. You like slow cook it overnight. I forget if there was anything else in it. Oh, a little bit of coconut oil or like butter if you're not vegan. Anyway, the apricots were for iron, but you, after it cooks all night, you blend it, and then I would just kind of like drink it, or you can also eat it with a spoon, but it's blended and it's like kind of thin and runny. So I would just have that every day, like pre-breakfast, and it has something to do with just like getting easily absorbed nutrients into your system before eating anything else for the day. Anyway, so I had that type of congee for a long time when I was trying to get pregnant. So my friend still currently lives in China, but she was living in China then too. And I was telling her about this thing called congee, and she was like, yeah, we eat this like for breakfast. Like people in China eat it all the time. But there's usually stuff in it. There's like meat or vegetables or whatever, and it's not blended usually. Then you put like, you know, chili oil or like little sauces and stuff on top. And I was floored. I was like, you eat congee? But now I make real congee. Well, that was real congee, but it, you know, like fun congee. And I found a recipe from a girl on TikTok who was showing just kind of like a traditional way to make it, but I veganized it, obviously with soy curls instead of chicken and vegan broth instead of, actually I think she might have used water, but she said you can also use chicken broth. It is low calorie if that's something you care about, because it's like half a cup of rice to 5 cups of water. It's such a good savory breakfast. Like if you're someone who likes oatmeal but you don't want to have like a sweet breakfast, I like making it for lunch, but usually I'll like make it for lunch and then the next day I'll have it for breakfast. And it's just such a good like cozy winter meal. It's so warming. I can see why this would be so good when you're sick too, because it's just like the ultimate comforting, basically like a chicken soup. I did not talk about my preconception journey while I was going through it or even after. I was just kind of like, oh, I'm pregnant. But it was like a year long because it took me 13 months to finally get pregnant. And there was a lot that I learned. Working with that woman, Kirsten, was like life-changing for so many ways, but also because I really do think she helped me get pregnant. But all that to say, what we learned from her about congee, we love congee. Although she did say it's a great first food for babies, but obviously like it can't be one with a salty broth or something. I'd probably just do one with water and I'll probably blend it. But yeah, you can have some congee too sometime. And I'm sure I mentioned this, but you have to use like a very starchy, or I think it sometimes is also called like glutinous rice. I don't know if that means it has gluten, but it's one that like is super starchy. So the one I use is arborio rice. You can also use sushi rice, but it's any that gets like really thick and sticky when it cooks, because you know, like arborio rice is used for risotto, so it gets like that very creamy texture. So that's what you want. I loved that girl's idea of putting like potatoes and carrots and ginger in it while you simmer it. It is so good. And then the little sauce that you put on top with the sesame oil and the green onions just makes it so flavorful, like a comforting rice porridge. Yeah, you'll try it sometime soon. Yeah, soup for breakfast is yummy. He's perplexed. You want to add some rice and vegan chicken broth to a pot and simmer it for about 10 minutes and then whisk vigorously, and this will like release the starch in the rice and help it get nice and thick and creamy. And then after that you want to add in your ginger, potato, carrot, and soy curls. If you're using that, you could also add in tofu and then simmer that for another 10 minutes. Then we're gonna just make a little sauce that you drizzle on top, and it just adds so much flavor. It's so good. It's just soy sauce, maple syrup, sesame oil, some rice vinegar, and green onion. Of course, you can add anything else you like as well. This soup is a go-to, so you're gonna start off with some olive oil, onion and garlic, carrot, green onion, sausage. This is the field roast Italian, some diced tomatoes, and just broke them up with a potato masher a little bit of vegan beef broth, and then this, it's kind of like a dairy-free red pesto. The only place I've ever seen this is at Walmart, so if you want to try and look for it, check there. And then I just add in half a can of white beans, some chopped kale and parsley, and salt and pepper, and then you just want to simmer it. Oh, and a little bit of nutritional yeast. This is optional, but it just adds a little bit more depth of flavor. And then just simmer it until it's a little bit thicker, and it really couldn't be easier. It's such a good hearty soup. It's a really good one to use up greens, like if your greens are a little bit wilted, and I highly recommend putting some sour cream on top. This is tofutti, and then of course serving it with your favorite sourdough.